Hey everybody, it's Dave here. Welcome to my next YouTube video. Today, what I'm going to talk about is what limits your healing journey. And so, to describe this, I'm going to talk about is through the view of what happens in the energy body, in the energy anatomy. And so, we've got these energy holding tanks in your body. These are not chakras, these are energy holding tanks. The upper three are known as the dantian, and the bottom one is your reproductive energy. The reproductive energy is located in your genitals and is, depending on who you read, roughly representative of about 40% of your entire life force that you will have to use in your lifetime. And so this energy is very important for your healing process, but it cannot be regenerated. All of these holding tanks here, we have them as dark blue to represent them as being full for now, but once this energy starts to deplete, you cannot regenerate it. Once it is gone, it is gone. And so we've got this central column here, which runs up and down the center of your body, and the energy flows from one energy holding tank to the next up this central column. Now there's a lot more to your energy anatomy than this, but just for the purposes of this video, this is all we're going to be talking about. So in general, there's a general upward flowing of energy. You don't have to do anything to facilitate that. It happens on its own, and it moves from most concentrated energy. Highest concentration of life force used to create life is your reproductive energy. Then as you move up to your lower dantian, your physical vitality center, this is where all of the energy is stored for cellular function and repair, physical usable energy for your body for physical processes. And this energy can be regenerated by borrowing from the reproductive energy reservoir beneath it. So when this starts to get depleted, the energy will start to move up from your reproductive energy center and will sort of restore and regenerate this. And this happens naturally. Again, a lot of it happens at night, which is why sleep is so important. And this one, the energy center is just below your navel, a couple inches below your navel and inside your body. So as we move higher up these energy centers, you've got the middle dantian. This is your emotional energy center. It is raw emotional energy that is stored here. It is just at the lower end of your sternum inside the body, and if this energy center depletes, it starts to borrow energy from your physical vitality stores. The energy moves up and starts to replenish this when this starts to get depleted. And your last energy reservoir and holding tank, your upper dantian, this is where all of your psychic energy is stored. This energy is used for mental function, intuitive capabilities, intense focus and concentration and problem solving, and it's between the eyebrows. This is the least dense energy of all of the energy storage centers in your energetic body. And so if we were to sort of liken these two states of matter, this would be solid, your physical energy center would be liquid, your emotional energy center would be gas, and then the top one would be ether. Now that's not what they actually are, but it's just to give you an idea of how dense and potent, how condensed the energy is. This is the most physicalized all the way up to the least physicalized energy. So let's say you go through something in your life which causes a strong emotional response, and whatever the event is, you cry, you get angry, you scream, whatever happens, this emotional energy center depletes. It is only a finite amount of energy, so it has to restore. And as we said in the previous slide, the energy from your physical vitality center will move up to replenish this energy center here so you can have more energy for emotional storage. Now, this energy center right here, when it's empty, no emotional, very little emotional expression can happen. And this is why healing and expressing happens in waves, because this has to regenerate. It might seem like it's random, but it's not. So you express, you cry, this center depletes, and then it borrows a little energy from this energy center to move up. It fills it up, and then at some random point, you'll cry again, and this will deplete, and this happens repeatedly until that emotion is expressed and over and done with. And once it's done with, the center can deplete again, and then you can move on with your daily life and continue to live. But the key point here is that the emotional center, the ability to express the emotion, is very dependent on how much energy is in the two energy centers beneath you, the physical vitality center and the reproductive energy center. So if these start to get depleted, it does affect the flow of energy upwards, which we'll get into in just a moment. So let's say, and this is sort of just an example of sort of chronic drain over time just through living, your vitality depletes as you age, and through physical stress and emotional stress, these physical vitality centers here and the physical vitality center here and your reproductive vitality center at the bottom, they start to deplete excuse me, over time. And as they do that, there is a reduced amount of flow upwards into the higher centers. There is some raw emotional energy available for expression, but not as much, because your physical body, your survival is higher up on the hierarchy. It is more important to keep the physical body running in order than it is to have this emotional expression on the hierarchy of your survival. So when these centers get depleted, you have less and less energy for emotional expression, and even less and less energy available for mental function and discernment and problem-solving capabilities. That is a general example of what happens over time when these energy centers deplete. Now, what can happen over time is you get these little blockages here, trapped emotions, anywhere on the central channel. Now, they can happen anywhere in your entire body, but just for, again, the purposes of this discussion, let's show how they block the flow of energy moving upwards. And so if you have an emotion and you are consciously suppressing it, that emotion gets sort of walled off. Like a bacteria, your body can wall off a bacteria or virus in a cyst. It just encapsulates it and keeps it trapped. So the same thing can happen with your emotions if you consciously suppress them or don't express them, or you are just otherwise not aware of expressing them. And so when that happens, these blockages block the flow of energy from the lower centers up to the higher, and it results in a reduced access to the amount of energy you have for emotional expression. And now, why am I talking about emotional expression here? Is because this is the main thing that is required to keep this central energy channel clear. Each of these little blockages, these black dots of emotion, they're finite. They don't last forever. Once you express one of them, one of these little black dots would disappear, and then you would express this one, and a little black dot would disappear, and it would sort of clean out the channel. And when you can clean out the channel, the energy can go up to your higher energy centers to provide for more sort of spiritual awakening. So, but this can happen, this mechanism, the forming of these blockages can be conscious or it can be unconscious, and it will be unconscious when this bottom energy reservoir gets severely depleted. When you have no reproductive or sexual energy left, there is very little of it to move up to the higher energy centers. And if you have something that you're going through, some healing crisis, your body, your whole being is going to wall off those emotions and store them in your body because it does not have the energy for expression. So this reservoir at the bottom Your reproductive energy reservoir is depleted mostly through hypersexual activity. Too much ejaculation, too many orgasms, especially for males, too much sexual stimulation through pornography. So this, like I said, for males is particularly important because whenever a male has an orgasm or ejaculates, this energy center at the bottom directly depletes, and that energy cannot be regenerated. It just depletes and it depletes and it gets lower and lower. So every time a guy masturbates and has an ejaculation or orgasm or has sex, this depletes. And so what we're talking about here is hypersexual activity through your lifetime. If you're having too much or it's too much of an addiction, that is going to deplete this and is going to prevent the energy from moving upwards, clearing any of these energy blockages, or restoring your physical, emotional, or mental vitality. So for your healing journey, this one, the physical vitality center, is extremely, extremely important because your emotional center up here, the energy has to sort of fill up here and then overflow into the next center, as you will, as a sort of a natural way of happening. If this physical vitality center here is depleted, there's no room for emotional expression or very little, and this is most of society today and where most people, I think, get stuck on their healing journey. Not enough sleep, going to bed way too late and waking up way too early, or your circadian rhythms are way off, you travel through time zones or do shift work, or you just have really, really poor sleep-wake habits through a standard American diet where your calories are refined and processed, otherwise known as the sad crap diet. Having a poor diet depletes your physical energy stores. Over-exercising, high-intense activity for too long a duration. Now, activity does have its role in healing for sure, but I'm just talking about when you're doing too high-intense for too long and you don't have the accommodating diet and sleep to back that up. That's going to deplete your energetic life force reserves very fast. Overworking, working too much, addictions and bad habits, and then of course right here, environmental toxins. This one was a huge barrier for me on my healing journey. I had a lot of problems with mercury and aluminum that were causing health issues, and until I got rid of the mercury and aluminum out of my system, I was pretty much in survival mode, and all of the energy that was going to reduce the damage of the mercury and the aluminum in my system could no longer move up. And until I moved those toxins out of my body, it wasn't until that happened that this energy center filled up and finally overflowed into the emotional center. And at that point, I had started writing and crying and writing and crying, and it all just kind of naturally came out of me, but only because my vitality had gone up to enough of a level that I could finally express some of the stuff that I wasn't able to express. So physical vitality and reducing sexual activity are extremely, extremely important on your emotional healing process. All right, so your emotional center, when it depletes, and what causes it to deplete, hypo or hyper emotional expression. Excuse me. If you have a temperament where you hyper react to even the smallest situations and have a huge emotional outburst for things that you really shouldn't let get under your skin and should just be able to let go of, that causes a huge drain on this system and causes a more rapid upward flow of energy into this to supply the need for emotional expression, but it does deplete your physical and sexual vitality at the same time. Not being able to let go, not being able to forgive, forgiveness and letting go are very, very key points when it comes to clearing these emotional blockages on your central energy channel or anywhere in your body to enhance the access and the flow of energy to your higher spiritual centers. Forgiveness is actually the thing that causes these little blockages to disappear. So let's say this is a little ball of anger you're storing. When you're able to express that and let go and forgive, that little ball of anger would disappear from the central energy channel. And this is a little ball of grief. You express it, you forgive it, you let go. This blockage also would disappear from that central energy channel and clean up that main energy channel so you have more access to energy. What also depletes your emotional center? Toxic relationships. Being in relationships that are very draining and very unhealthy, abusive relationships, or just where there's a lot of anger, a lot of fighting, a lot of judgment, that can be a huge drain on your emotional center. And also toxic, and again, all of these, because they drain your emotional center, will drain your physical vitality as well. Toxic beliefs and judgments, being strongly judgmental in a negative function all the time, and having beliefs, whether they're religious or political or cultural, that are causing pain and suffering in your life, that can also deplete this energy center very rapidly. All right, and the top energy center, the upper dantian, so the fuel source for your psychic abilities and mental function. So hyperactive mind, which is a lot of people in society today. The energy draws away from the emotional center up into your psychic center to provide the life force energy for the mental function, but because it goes upwards from the emotional center, this depletes very rapidly and you don't have the energy for emotional expression. Prolonged focus and concentration. Overuse of the psychic abilities also depletes this. Psychic abilities and intuitive abilities are wonderful and can be good for a lot of guidance and decision making, but really listening to common sense, listening or using your reason, listening to your body, there's all sorts of other ways you can sort of maneuver your way and make judgments through life without having to ask your spirit guides every single time you need to make a decision. So that's what depletes this energy center. All right, so what we have on the left of the screen is a sum total of all of the things that people do in general categories that deplete your energy reservoirs, your 3 dantian and your reproductive energy reservoir. And when they get depleted, more of these little blockages form because you don't have the energy for emotional expression, and the energy does not go up because you're tired, because you're hyper emotional, because you're stuck in a toxic relationship, because your diet is white bread and sugar and Coke, and excuse me, you're working out all the time because you've been told that you have to be healthy. Your body's filled with toxins just from breathing the air, and you just watch way too much porn, and all of these things deplete your energy centers and drain you and drain you. And so because the energy cannot move up to your higher energy center, you lose the ability to discern, you lose the ability to think critically, and you end up on autopilot. You just go out through the day doing what you've always done because that's all you have the energy to do. It's conservation of energy using your autopilot behaviors is a way of your body conserving energy because it just doesn't have energy to do anything new and different. So when all of these energy centers get depleted, because you can't regenerate this bottom one, there's no energy to move up to provide any energy life force for your physical day, for all the physical things you have to do in the day. There's no energy for emotional expression. There's no emotional energy for critical thinking. Everything is just depleted. You start to become depressed over time. And this is a state of being where your vitality is just so low you can do absolutely nothing. And you should do mostly nothing because all of these centers need to regenerate. And all of this on the left, this is how a lot of society functions today. This is definitely what I've had to battle, and a lot of these factors I've had to battle on my journey as well. And here's the thing, is that when people start to get tired and exhausted over time, they also become very unhappy over time. They start to grab for quick fixes. They grab for coffee, they grab for sugar, which just reinforces the poor diet. They grab for porn on the internet because that does provide a temporary energy boost, or sex, or they start to become very controlling, because if you can control the situation, you can sort of reduce your energy expenditure a little bit. But in the end, we all grab for quick fixes, things that make us feel better in the short term, but provide a long-term depletion of the energy. And everybody is thinking right here that they want to feel better because they want pleasure in their life because they're feeling terrible. But what they actually want is more vitality. If you have more vitality, you have full energy holding tanks in your body, you can have sex once in a while. It's not a big deal. You can, maybe stay up late a little bit one night and it's not such a big deal. But when you have full energy tanks in your body of life force energy, you feel good most of the time. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be challenges and you won't feel bad once in a while, but because life is always going to throw you a curveball. But what happens is when the challenges come your way, you're able to meet them head on and move through them without it, throwing you through for a loop, or just throwing you right off your rocker because you've got no energy to deal with the stress. And so what we're looking at here is all of the factors on the right side which increase the restorative ability to restore these energy holding tanks in your body, except for the bottom one, I should say, because you can't regenerate that one. So reducing your sexual activity, learning to say no to bad habits, anything which gives you pleasure in the short term but depletes your vitality in the long term, especially when it comes to diet. Gotta start to learn saying no to those things. Learning to say no to too much work, overworking, and knowing when to detach from work. Detoxification, keep your body clean. Physical activity, like I said, has its role. Intense physical activity can happen when you've got things like anger or rage that you have to let go of, but in that case you can channel it through exercise and intense exercise, but the duration is usually very short. Otherwise, you're looking at restorative physical activity, Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, massage. Gentle walking or being in nature can be very, very restorative. Cleaning up your diet, getting lots of good quality sleep, and making sure that your sleep and wake times are as close to identical as possible. On the emotional front, the healthy emotional expression, not overreacting or underreacting to situations, learning to let go, learning to forgive, saying yes to loving relationships and no to toxic relationships, and being non-judgmental about that which you don't understand or don't know anything about. And then, of course, what restores the higher energy center up here, your upper dantian, quiet your mind through breathing, learning to calm the mind down, because a hyperactive mind will really deplete this very fast. Learning to meditate, slowing your breathing down is the best way to quiet the mind, and then having a mindful practice where you are able to learn to filter your emotions and thoughts and beliefs that you've been handed down to by society. Because as I said earlier, it doesn't matter if your beliefs came from religion or politics or your family or your culture. They are not working for you and they are causing you pain and suffering. You have to learn how to let them go, and that is what mindful practice does. So what we're looking at here is the sum total of all of the things on the right versus the sum total of all of the things on the left. All of these deplete these energy reservoirs in your body. All of these on the right help regenerate these and help with the upward flow of energy up the central column and help clear out that central column And so what you do when you're limited on your healing journey and you're not sure what to do or where to go or why you're stuck, start with the physical vitality. When the physical vitality is restored through diet and sleep, the energy, once this starts to overflow, it will start to move naturally upwards into the emotional center. And when that fills up and has enough energy for emotional expression, it will happen naturally. So, but I cannot understate the importance of keeping your body healthy on the emotional healing journey. It is so, so vitally important. So this is where I think a lot of people get stuck, just because these are the general negative habits that society has today: poor diet, poor sleep, overworking, and riddled with environmental toxins. So start with that. But like I said, it's the sum total of the right side versus the left side, and start to look at what factors on the right side you need to work on or improve, and all of the factors on the left side where you start to need to learn to let go, and that will free up your energy. So you can then have all of this energy move upwards, fill up your energy centers, and then you are finally moving away from being on the healing journey to being on the awakening journey, where you are now on a spiritual awakening process, and you can grow and you can thrive and you can move through life with trust and faith, and without having life keep breaking you and tearing you down all the time. Okay, so there you go. Hopefully this is good. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to leave in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have, and thank you for watching.